The new Mantis X10 firearms performance system has all the goodness of the original, plus holster draw analysis and recoil analysis. It's a fantastic upgrade and I recommend it highly.
Hey guys, Brian Hill with the Complete Combatant, and welcome to Active Self-Protection Extra and our dry fire practice series. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about sights and trigger and the synergistic relationship between the two. They really have to work together. You can't do one without the other. The sights actually tell you how fast you can press the trigger, so you have to visually read the sights, you have to kinesthetically feel what you're doing with the trigger, and that way you'll know what speed to shoot at. Now here's the truth of the matter, most of you only have one speed. Accuracy shooters tend to be very precise with their shot, and speed shooters tend to be very quick with their shot. But you should have several different levels of speed so that you know how to really access the trigger and get the most out of your shooting so that you can have the right level of speed with the right level of accuracy. They work together. You can have both. You can be both fast and accurate. It's just in relative to the size of the target. Okay? There's several people I'm going to attribute for this because they came up with these things, so I'll mention their names as we go through, and I'm just kind of putting all the information together in one package for you. Tom Givens talks about 3 trigger presses that could be either quickly, carefully, or precisely. Max Michel talks about 3 sight pictures, which is flash, floating, or focused. We're going to combine those things together, and then we're going to talk about the relative size of the target so that you know what to do. Okay? So a flash sight picture would be I just simply see the front sight as quickly as I can, or I see the red dot as quickly as I can. So let's get this out of the way for all of you guys out there. Gun's empty. Dummy rounds. I'm going to roll it with dummy rounds now. Good. We're ready to go. So with the red dot, flashing is very easily. If I had a target the size of something like this behind me or this, and I'm shooting for the center, at a close distance, that would be a very large target. So I would flash the sight on it, I'd quickly press the trigger, and I'd be able to get an acceptable level of accuracy inside of that target. Remember, distance always equals speed. So the further they are from me, the more I can take time to do this correctly and press the trigger. But the closer I am, the more the necessity to do it as efficiently as possible. Notice I didn't say faster or slower, I said efficiently. So what I want to do is I'm going to practice from the extended prep and press. That's a Mike Seeklander thing. And this is the compressed position. Now, this does not qualify as a ready position because the gun is pointing at the target already. All right, so it's not a ready position. But what we're practicing is the rule number 3, which is keep your finger off the trigger until the sights are on the target and you decide to shoot. So I have made the decision that I'm going to shoot. My sights are lining up. So as the gun comes out, I'm going to begin to touch the trigger and then see as much as I need to and press the trigger. Now that was a very slow motion activity like that. So if I was doing this very quickly, it'd look like this. I know I need to shoot, so, and that's enough. I saw it inside of the target area and I flashed it on my sight picture, and as soon as I did that, I just quickly kept my finger moving. Really important when you talk about triggers and fingers. A lot of people like to kind of work it all the way up to the wall and then break it. But what I found is with shooters, that creates a sense of now, and as soon as you decide you're going to shoot, you tend to yank the gun down just a bit with it. Once you start moving the finger, just clean up the sight picture and don't stop. It's much like rowing a canoe. We want to keep the energy going so the boat stays straight. But if you do everything here and then you do that, you're going to have problems. You're going to see that in low and left and low and right for a lot of left-handed shooters. Now the next one would be floating. So if I was shooting something relative to the size of this head over here, okay, I want to be inside of that area. I want to be inside of this area. So I'm going to float the dot inside of that area, and I'm going to carefully press the trigger because I can't add any up or down or right or left motion. So I see it floating in there, and then I just carefully press the speed of the trigger. It doesn't say fast or slow, it says to be careful. So clean it up and press it. That would be for a small target. So we talked about a big target, we talked about a small target. Now let's talk about the most important one of all. There's targets that simply allow you to have no error. You can't make a mistake. All right. If you're in competition, it may have a non-threat underneath it. If you're in real life, it might be a hostage shot. All right. So I have to take this shot and I'm going to simply make it on a very small target, maybe on the ocular window through the eye. all right, or something is partially covered, or I'm shooting something like this at 25 yards. Because what changes the size of the target is how big the target actually is, what your distance to the target is, and then if something is blocking it or in the way. That's the three things. So it gives you the speed to shoot. So this final one will have a focus sight picture, all right, or sight movie, as Gabe says, and we'll have a precision press on the trigger, as Tom Givens says, and that's because the target can have no error. Okay? Now, I'm going to take up all the slack, keep my finger moving, keep the finger moving, and then just shoot right through it. So that is my precision shot. Notice I didn't go slower. I just took more time to make sure that everything was there and I didn't add anything to the shot itself. And that helps tremendously. So the three things for the vision is flash, floating, and focused. Three triggers is quickly, carefully, and precisely. Put those together and you'll know when to use them because of the size of the target. Big targets, we can do the first one, we can do a flash, and we can quickly press the trigger. Smaller targets are going to require a floating sight picture, and then we can carefully press the trigger. So that's for smaller targets. And targets that simply allow no error, we're shooting a B8 at 25 yards, we're shooting where there's a non-threat, maybe there's hard cover, something blocking it, or it's just a small target itself, and it won't accept any error. Then we want to really focus our vision, and we want to precisely press the trigger, and that'll allow us to hit the target. If you can do these three things, you always know how fast to shoot. Remember, your draw speed never changes. Drawing is simply administrative, but what people do, if a target gets really hard, we see a lot of this. They draw slowly as if that'll help them aim. Don't do that. Okay, it's really a bad habit to draw slowly. No matter what, get the gun out and then do the aiming process. Okay, do the aiming process at the end of it, but you got to get the gun out as quickly as you can. You've got to learn to call your shots. This is the hardest thing I found to teach people. What that means is when I press that trigger, I want to see where the sight is. If it was in live fire, it begin to lift. In dry fire, I want to see exactly where it was the second that I press that. And I can call where it would hit on the target. And I want to start making that in my mind. So I'm using the camera as a target. It would have been slightly up and to the left, all right, at 11 o'clock. The SIRT pistols are really good help for this because you can see the whole mechanism here. All right, I'm going to turn my back and go off to the side a little bit, but as I come out, I'm prepping, and that's where the shot breaks. Prepping, shot breaks. Prepping, shot breaks. Make sure you don't pin the trigger, okay? The gun's getting ready to shoot, so you should be too. It's going to cycle, it's going to load another round. Simply go ahead and flip the trigger and get ready to prep it again. That's from Rogers Shooting Academy. Claude Warner cued me in on that one. It's a great way to say. So it's flip and prep. You're always getting ready to shoot the next shot. In dry practice, you won't be able to do that unless you have a trigger that moves a little bit or you have a SIRT pistol. So we're going to put the sights and the trigger always together. All right, we're having a visual verification of what we need. We're having a kinesthetic index of speed, and the target will tell you what you need to do. And that's going to make you such a better shooter because you're going to be actively involved with what you're doing instead of just doing it the same way every time. And then it works out sometimes, you know. If you're a really fast shooter and you get a big target, it's great. If you're a really precise shooter and you get a big target, you didn't gain anything, but you took a lot of time. All right. If you're a really precise shooter and you can shoot something like this on demand, that's great. And if you're a fast shooter and you don't take enough precision and focus to hit that and you miss it, then that doesn't help you either. So we need to make sure that speed and accuracy go together because they're simply whoever can see the quickest and align the sights or the red dot can shoot the quickest. Whoever sees the quickest can shoot the quickest. That's Jerry Mikulik for you. He knows a little something about shooting. So a lot of name dropping today, but the information doesn't come from me alone. It comes from the whole community. And I'm just kind of passing it back on to you guys. All right, so practice at home. Practice the extended prep and press. Okay, and just start from here, and all you're working is sights and trigger. And see if you can get all three of those speeds. Don't slow your hands down so much, but see exactly what you need to see. That's always bandied around in classes, see what you need to see to shoot, but that's what we're talking about. There's the throttle with the trigger, and there's vision with your sight, and that's going to tell you how fast you can shoot. So I hope you all get to practice. I hope this helps you tremendously. One speed's going to make perfect sense to you. One you may have some sort of relationship, and the other one you feel like you never use. Even if you only got down to 2 of those, that would be really good. But I think all 3 are necessary for shooters that extend themselves into a well-rounded category. 60-70% of our work's going to be 7 yards and in, but if you shoot 25 yards and you're a speed shooter, you're going to have to work on being a little more focused and be precise with your trigger. And if you're a real accurate person, you're up close, you're going to have to shoot some drills quicker than you feel comfortable with. And that's really what it's talking about, because sometimes we feel careless or reckless when we go fast as structured and precision people. So don't allow those things to inhibit you. Practice with acceptable level of accuracy. As I tell people, it depends on the target. This target, there's no bonuses for hitting a 0. All right, anything inside that circle counts. Now this target, there's all sorts of bonuses for hitting very close inside of it, but you still have this whole ring here to get inside of. So let the target dictate how fast you press the trigger. Use your vision to tell you how fast you can go and how accurate you can be. Thanks a lot, guys. It's a pleasure as always. I hope all of you are training hard. Hit me up with your comments. Brian Hill, the Complete Combatant, Instagram, Chief Chaos Controller. So if you guys can, if you have any questions for me, let me know. It's always a pleasure. Thank you, ASP team, for letting me be a part of this and teach to you guys. And I'll see you on the next video. Thank you so much.